We thought we should take the time to discuss the racial and social justice movement as it relates to the fight game. Boxing has arguably had a longer and more intertwined history with race issues than any sport. Look no further than the early 1900s and heavyweight champion Jack Johnson. Look no further than a generation of elite fighters either denied or delayed their chance at world championships because of the color of their skin. And undoubtedly, you needn't look any further than the most famous and impactful athlete to ever live, Muhammad Ali. Boxing has both created barriers and broken through them. Race has been both exploited by boxing promotions and yet celebrated. Our ESPN production crew took time over the past week to have a long and very honest and open conversation about what our nation is facing, what we're all seeing, what we're all sensing. And we want to be able to share some of that with you. So let's bring in Andre Ward and Tim Bradley. And Dre, if you could please share your thoughts.
Well, Joe, first of all, I appreciate, the opportunity, and you're right. We've had, open and honest conversations behind the scenes, and this is just the overflow of that. What I've seen over the last 2.5 weeks or so, I've been blessed by a lot of it. It's been really encouraging. It's given me a lot of hope, the solidarity that I see people standing in and walking in. And then some of it, frankly, is broken my heart. I am the son of a black mother and a white father, and I've had to deal with disdain, looks of disgust from both blacks and whites. And that was my reality growing up. And some of those looks turned into physical altercations with my father because he was not about that. He was not about injustice. He was not about racism. He was not about divide, and he would fight for it, literally. So from being raised from a man like that, as well as my faith, I hate, and I don't use this word lightly, I hate bias. I hate prejudice. I hate double standards of any kind. And it's my life's mission to not allow any of that to come out of me, but to also fight for it and fight against it. And I think for the boxing community, if we want to affect change, I think we can start right here at home. Myself, as well as many other African-American fighters, for many, many years, we've had to deal with double standards. We've had to deal with, certain prejudices and certain bias where, if an African-American fighter is not a villain, if he is not boisterous, if he's not a guy who is jumping on tables and just doing crazy things at press conferences, he's not worth the price of admission. He's not worth your streaming buy or your pay-per-view buy. And that's something that I detest. And I personally, as well as others, have protested this line of thinking and have protested this thought where when Floyd Mayweather was pretty boy Floyd Mayweather, nobody paid attention. But all of a sudden, when he became the villain, when he became Money Mayweather, now he was worth the price of admission to see him lose. This is something that, again, it's bothered me. I have protested against it. Other fighters have protested against it, and it should not be the case. And now that I have the opportunity to mentor another young African-American fighter in Shakur Stevenson, we have these discussions, and I encourage them all the time. If individuals, media, fans, whoever it may be, if they're asking you to be anything other than yourself, Shakur, they're asking for way too much.
Well, my situation has been really difficult at my household, with my children, with my wife. You got to understand that my wife is Hispanic. My children are Hispanic and also black. And I also have 2 stepchildren that are Hispanic and Caucasian. And their father is an officer. He is in law enforcement. And I have friends in law enforcement. And I have a brother in law enforcement. But I want to share a story with you folks. Something that happened a year ago with my 4-year-old son. And I think you guys need to hear this. We were getting ready for school. It was early in the morning. Went outside and I asked my son, which car you want to drive today? Which car you want to go in? It was a car that I had been fixing for a little while. I haven't driven it in about 3 years. And I knew he was going to say that car, but I was a little skeptical to get in that car because I knew the type of attention that car can bring. I got in anyway because I wanted to see the smile on my son's face. We're getting halfway to school. Next thing you know, I hear whoop, whoop. I look in my rearview mirror, and what do I see? Not one, not two, but 4 officers behind me. I turned around, and I looked at my son. My heart was pumping 100 miles an hour. And I told my son, look at me. Do exactly what I tell you to do right now. Don't say anything at all. Keep your hands up high. Okay? He said, okay, Dad. Well, anyways, I didn't get apprehended once they figured out who I was. And as we continued to drive, my son asked me, Dad, why did they pull us over? And I said, son, they pulled us over because of the color of our skin and the type of car that we're driving. I said, that's the truth, son. And I said, let me tell you something that my dad told me 30 years ago. He told me that because the color of your skin, son, because the color of your skin, you already have a strike already on you. And I told my son that at 4 years old. And I said, you might not get it now, but you will get it later. And my father shared that with me 30 years ago. And I just shared that with my son about a year ago.
Tim and Dre, I just simply thank you for sharing incredibly powerful personal reflections that, and Timmy, you say, that's the truth, son. Well, that truth matters greatly right now to have these kind of conversations. And I hope that everybody feels that we're all better for it, for hearing from the two of you. Gentlemen, I just want to thank you for continuing to lead the way with your voices in this sport.
Thanks for watching ESPN on YouTube. For live streaming sports and premium content, subscribe to ESPN+.